The Put Me in Coach podcast. All right. Welcome back, my friend.
How are you?
Doing? Nice to see you. And nice to see everybody else, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for hanging out with us. I kind of want to get all my 12, my legion of boom, my 12 men in the building here, because I think I want to leave a question up to, hopefully Seahawks fans find this, but just anybody watching in general. We just talked about the Rams, and kind of the question I led with and we talked about was like, is it fair to say this is the best team in football right now in the Rams? And you know, we'll talk about them a little bit as we talk about the Seahawks as well in this video. But I think the same exact question needs to be asked about Seattle, because I was watching this game last Sunday against Arizona, and this is like the 5th or 6th time this year that I've turned on the Seahawks, and they are just completely playing with their food, like just bullying the other team. You know, for me, before I pass it to you, I think I want to lead off with kind of where I think all of this comes from and where all of this starts. This was a 10-win team last year. Great. They were good. They weren't this. I promise you they were not this. And I think, you know, it's interesting because this has become an offensive league. And thus, you know, we gravitate towards offensive coaches, and we like to throw the term genius around with these guys like Shanahan and McVay and, you know, even guys like Mike McDonald, who just innovative offensive minds. Ben Johnson. Fine. That's fine. I get it. Those guys are all great at what they do. But the Kyle Shanahan of defense is in Seattle. And this man is truly like your favorite. He's like that, bro. And like your favorite, this is like your favorite defensive coordinator, your team's defensive coordinator is trying to figure out how this guy's doing things and copying him. And, you know, I've talked about this on the show before, but like as a Michigan fan, when Jim Harbaugh brought in Mike McDonald to be our defensive coordinator, that was the turning point, right? We never looked back. It was beating Ohio State every year. National champion.
Stealing the signs. It had nothing to do with the fact that Mike McDaniel and Jesse Minter came in and took over our defense, and then we became an absolute unit defensively.
Yeah, and Jesse Minter is kind of the understudy of Mike McDaniel, and you're seeing what he's been able to do in LA. I mean, he'll
be a head coach next year.
Steelers. He's going to be a head coach in this league. Deserves to be. Every element of this defense is just ridiculous. I watched this game against the Cardinals. DeMarcus Lawrence from the Cowboys, a guy that we kind of forgot about, had 2 touchdowns in this game, just bullying. This defense struggled the last few years against the run. They're second in run defense this year. That's adjustments. They've gotten, you know, Leonard Williams. We've talked about, you know, how this team sometimes feels like they're missing like an X factor edge. That's their X factor edge. He's just on the interior. It's Aaron Donald. He's been unreal this year. Murphy, the kid they drafted out of Texas last year, he's delivered. Rick Woolen has struggled with injuries this year. When he's healthy, he's really good. Witherspoon is playing elite defensive back. All of this comes from the top with Mike McDonald and what he's doing on the defensive side of the ball. We'll get to the offense, and I want to get your thoughts on this. But before we talk offense and Sam Darnold and kind of these other things, I just wanted to talk about what I think the real driving force of this is. And I think it is a new era of defensive genius head coach in this league. Bill Belichick levels. I think he has that potential. I mean that. But my question for you, my question for the audience is, given what we've seen so far, is it fair? Are we willing to say that this is the best team in the NFC or the best team in the NFL? If so, why? If not, why not? Give me your thoughts initially.
You know, I can't go that far. They feel to me, ironically, a lot like the Sam Darnold-led Vikings of last year, where you have this like high-flying, high-powered, great schemed-up defense, you know, the Brian Flores defense. And, you know, you bring in this guy who can just sling the rock, and you got this wide receiver who's just absolutely eating, you know, JSN to Justin Jefferson. It feels very, very similar. You got a two running back system going on back there. It just feels very similar the way the teams are set up. And, you know, we just finished a Rams video, which the people will have at this point, but it wouldn't be fair to anybody if I sat here and said, yeah, the Seahawks are great, but then criticized the Rams for who the Rams play. The Seahawks haven't really played anybody. You know, and that's just the reality of it. They lost to the Niners week 1. They beat the Steelers. Steelers are no good. We know that. They beat the crap out of the Saints. Saints are no good. They beat the Cardinals twice. Cardinals are no good. They beat the Jaguars. Jags are no good. They beat the Texans. Texans are no good. They lost to the Bucks. That was kind of the only team that they've played. The Bucks and the Niners are the two teams that they've lost to, and those are probably the two best teams they've played.
Can I interject for 1 second here too?
Please.
You know what my fear about those two losses in particular are, especially with like the Seattle week 1, which, you know, it's week 1, but like more so the Bucks game.
Yeah.
Those are kind of the two games that they were in like real back and forth, like shootouts. And, you know, I think the hiring of Clint Kubiak was kind of an ace in the hole for these guys. Like obviously what was going on last year offensively was an issue. We sent old boy back to college. See you, buddy. You're not a pro OC. That's okay. But he was nice with the Huskies. But that being said, I feel like Sam Darnold is always liable for like a couple of 1 or 2 picks every game of like bad turnovers. And it feels to me like that could be a potential issue where like
didn't one of those happen in each one of those Bucks and Niners games?
Yes. And they were pivotal to like the game outcome. And like it does feel
he's not great under like big pressure. I mean, we saw this last year.
He's really good as a front runner. And when these teams
he's a front runner.
But that's the thing, man. This team has a really unbelievable ability to pin their ears back and like take over. Like, dude, that Cardinals game. Sure. I know it's the Cardinals. They're not a great team. It's fine. But the Commanders thing 2 weeks ago and the Cardinals last week, both of those games were over before halfway through the first quarter. Those games were done. We're talking 21 stunk past the controller ball game.
Yeah.
And like
worry-free football.
Sam Darnold is a huge part of that, but I think I'm with you. Like that would be a potential concern of mine going into the big moments come playoff time.
Just when I think about like the best team, right? It's like I think I just default have to give it to Philly. Philly's been battle tested. They've beaten a lot of really good teams,
and they're clutch.
You know, they're clutch. When I look at the Rams and I look at the Seahawks, you know, I said it in the last video. I think the Rams, Seahawks, Philadelphia, and Detroit are the 4 best teams in the NFC currently. And when I look at those 4 teams, Philly's the only one who's like consistently beaten teams that are like they beat the Rams. You know what I mean? Like they beat the Packers this past weekend. They play up, you know. They don't typically have like a stinker. And I gotta just see. I just have to see what happens this weekend, right? Does Seattle pin their ears back again and kick the shit out of the Rams, or do the Rams take their lunch money, or is it a disappointing game where they, you know, it ends up being 10-7 like Packers Philly was? You know, it's one of those things where you're like, what am I to make? And division games are hard too, right? Like we saw like the Bills get popped this weekend by the Dolphins, and we saw the Lions get popped last week by the Vikings. You know, like those you just never know how those games are going to go because you're so familiar with the team.
No, and I think for me, I would have you could hand me infinite money and I wouldn't place a single bet on that game this week. Like I'm not touching that game. Here's the thing. I think my fear, and it ties into what we've been saying about Seattle. I think if that game's close, give me the Rams. And that's like the fear I have with the Seahawks. It's like they kind of win in this, you know, very Mike McCarthy, Dan Quinn, Dallas Cowboys a couple of years ago way, where it's like they take over and that's like hard to do. I mean, that's a testament to how elite this defense is and this offense, by the way. Is there a better receiver in the league right now than JSN? I mean, that's a valid question. No, there's no one playing football.
He's definitely top 3 currently.
Top 3 currently. I guess if I'm nitpicking this team, by the way, I also love the move to acquire Rashid Shaheed from the Saints. That's a guy that Clint Kubiak had last year in New Orleans and really kind of balled out before he got injured with him. He's a field stretcher. He's a legitimate playmaker. Like I know people don't view him as like a real wide receiver. He is. He has the potential to be kind of the Xavier Worthy of this offense. And I think when you have
deep field stretcher, elite slot guy, and 2 double backs, where have I seen that before? I know what this offense is. I watched him go 15-2 last year. That's what worries me.
Yes,
that's what worries me. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what worries me. The Lions were not battle tested last year, and we got our lunch money taken in the playoffs. And that, like I said in the Rams video, it's very similarly. They just haven't really played anybody. In the games that they have played better teams, they've lost.
Yeah, and I think the nitpick for me would be with the running game. I still feel like the drafting of Gray Zabel was just like good job, and that's the other thing too. By the way, before I even say this, I like Schneider, the GM. He's one of those guys because they don't win Super Bowls. We don't really talk about him the way we talk about Roseman. He gets it right every step of the way.
So good.
And this is like, it's like 3D chess stuff, right? Like we remember a couple years ago, we're talking 5, 6, 7 years ago, post Legion of Boom, Russell Wilson got the contract. Pete Carroll was kind of sort of becoming like a bit of a Don Corleone figure in the organization, where it was like he was kind of getting his way. There was a power struggle. Yeah. They got rid of Russ, right? And all of us were like, what are they doing? Are you kidding me? Like, Denver just fleeced. Well, no, actually, that was the worst contract of all time for Denver. And it got so bad that they actually got fully new ownership in Denver. And like, we're like, go away forever. We'll pay you the dead cap. Just leave the locker room. They were ahead of that. They got Geno Smith, right? We all felt like they made a mistake letting go of Geno Smith this offseason. Well, no, not really. If you've watched the Raiders play a down of football, he sucks. And his coach sucks. Yeah. They've been right every step of the way. So so Snyder, I think, is really such an elite front office guy.
Well, and believing in Darnold enough to hand him $100 million, which obviously you saw the Vikings weren't willing to do, but they're fucked now.
Totally.
You know what I mean? I think they would kill for Darnold to be back. That's an incredibly competitive division, and they're out. Like, they're not going to be able to compete. The Bears are 6-3, and now you have Sam Darnold over here playing at again another MVP-esque level, and we're sitting here arguing, is Seattle the best team in the league? Not even in the NFC, in the league, are they the best team? You know what I mean? Like, it's you're someone who I consider to be like, a genuine ball knower, enough that like we've started our own YouTube channel just so you and I can talk more about football instead of like on the phone, right? Like, we don't even care that people watch. We're just like, let's do a thing where we can talk ball. That being said, like, even you, did you really feel in your heart of hearts, like when we got the news that Geno Smith was signing with Vegas and that they were bringing in Sam Darnold, did you feel like that was an upgrade? Did you? For Seattle, I feel like they downgraded. I vividly remember texting you and Colin and saying, I feel like that's a lateral move.
But it's been a huge upgrade offensively.
It's been a great upgrade. I mean, I have to give Sam Darnold credit where he deserves it. Like, he's really climbed himself into, a reputable player. Like, he truly has. It wasn't, I think we all look at it last year and go, yeah, I mean, he failed with the Jets. He failed with the Panthers. He was a backup for Shanahan. Shanahan didn't want him over Purdy. So it must have been a Kevin O'Connell thing. Kevin O'Connell must have maybe Kevin O'Connell's the quarterback whisperer, but much like we've seen with like everybody saying, well, Jared Goff's going to go back to being a pumpkin because he's not any good without Ben Johnson. We see that Jared Goff's still very good, playing at such a high level. We need to give that same respect to Sam Darnold, right? It's like, I don't know, bro. He was MVP caliber last year, point blank period. 14-2, right? Wasn't that their 14-3? Wasn't that their record ultimately?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 14-3, and obviously the last two games, the game in Detroit and the game in Los Angeles kind of left everybody with a sour taste in their mouth. But we've talked about it before. I mean, they did him no favors with that offensive line. I mean, they Darisaw goes down, and then they bring in Cam Robinson. It's just, that's all bad,
right? And the other thing is too is like the Rams and the Detroit Lions were the only two teams that beat the Vikings like all last year, right? So like
all last year. Literally, they're all four of their losses.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, like, to tie the, another name that comes to mind with this, right? It's like DK Metcalf. If you're watching DK Metcalf this year, you know what we're talking about. It's starting to, you've said this in the before about, you said it about Andy Reid when it comes to like offensive linemen. Here's a kind of a take that I have here with Snyder. Is like, as a GM, is he starting to hit a point for you? Because he is for me, where I'm starting to have that thing of going, maybe I don't want you if the Seattle Seahawks are letting you go.
100%.
Like, and that's a sign of like a really, really good front office where they're letting go of guys ahead of time. They're not waiting too long. They're not doing it early. They're doing it right at the right time, right? We're not paying you DK Metcalf. Sorry. Well, DK Metcalf has been, whatever, nothing burger in Pittsburgh this year. Jaxon Smith-Njigba, best receiver in football this year. Like, that's a huge difference. And I just think, to me, like, that's really important. Are they going to win the Super Bowl this year? They wouldn't be my pick, but like, just the fact that this front office continues to, shuffle the deck, that, Pete Carroll moves on. They move on from Pete Carroll and we go, really? Yeah. Moving on from Pete Carroll for a DC coming out of college? And it's like, yep, that was the right move. Moving on from DK Metcalf. Did they really have a downfield guy? Yeah, they do. It's called Jaxon Smith-Njigba, who's an everything guy. I guess if I were to nitpick this offense or any like part of this team, it would be, I think picking Gray's A-ball in the draft, by the way, which was like the big issue we had with them this offseason was like the O-line. It's been way better, again, front office, making the right picks on the O-line. But I feel like, we talked a lot about like Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet both being good players as if that's like a leg up. And I think they would trade both of those guys away for like Saquon Barkley. Sometimes I watch this team and I go, like, Zach Charbonnet is a good north and south run. He's a fine player.
Yeah, they're both like C pluses.
Athletic. Yeah. And it doesn't, my issue is those two C pluses don't combine for an A running game. It's sort of like, that's my only fear with this team is like, sometimes I watch them and I go, I just don't know that they win offensively in the running game. And then the problem is, and this is, we're talking like bigger games here. Then you give the ball to Sam Darnold and you go, okay, drive in and drive out. You got to like ball out here. And he's really good at that. He's a gunslinger, but here comes that pick and you never know when it's coming. So that would be like my only concern. Every team has a chink in their armor. I know they don't fail in the running game. I'm just telling you what my eyes tell me. It's just like, I just don't love this running game week to week. And I don't think it's a scheme thing. I just don't know that like either one of these running backs have like separated from me where I'm just like, they're both mid. Don't you feel that way? Like they just,
yeah, no, I completely agree. Yeah. I don't see them as a Super Bowl team, but I mean, you just never know. You really just never know. I mean, they could 1,000,000% do it and I wouldn't be that shocked. Right. I mean, like I said, it's kind of those four teams in the NFC that I expect to be either, two of them will be in the championship game and then one of them will be in the Super Bowl. Again, that's Philly, Detroit, Seattle, and Los Angeles. Those are the four teams. I think anybody else would be pretty shocking to me at this point. We kind of know what Green Bay is. I think Green Bay is not good enough. I think the Niners are just too banged up.
Tampa's in that group.
Tampa's fake.
Yeah, but those are definitely like the outside guys. We're gonna get out of here, but I guess I'll leave you with this because I think it's a fun one, kind of going into the game, and it gives us something to talk about next week. Are you willing to move Seattle like firmly into I believe like if they go in and beat the Rams this weekend? Like, are you waiting for Rams Seahawks to make like your call on like which one of those? I need
to see how who rises up against the other dominant team. You know what I mean? Like this even when you look at, I mean, what are the Niners like 6-4? I mean,
and their next four games are all fake. Like they're gonna be in the playoffs.
I don't think they're very good. Like I don't think they compare with the other two teams. But man, their record might reflect it. You know what I mean? Like,
and sorry to interrupt you. No room for error. They've also beaten both of those teams. Like they beat the Seattle Seahawks one, and then the Rams. I think week 4, I believe.
Well, they beat them. Yeah, they beat them early in the season, though. I mean, they've had some super serious injuries since then. That's kind of what makes me say that I don't trust them so much. When you lose Bosa and Fred Warner, it's kind of like, all right, like
agreed.
I kind of have to write this in, and Purdy for that matter. But yeah, I mean, they could still do it. You know what I mean? That's totally possible, and they still have Kyle Shanahan as their coach. So there's just not a ton of room for error in this division currely.
No, there's not.
So somebody's got to rise up on Sunday, and it's going to be really exciting to see who it is.
Yeah, I think with the Seahawks playing the Rams this weekend, and then next weekend the Thanksgiving game between Detroit and Green Bay, I think the next couple weeks are going to tell us a lot about who we're ready to kind of put our chips in on. And I know it's just one game for each team, but it is interesting because I feel like we have doubts, small doubts about all four of the teams that you mentioned that you view as like the NFC top dogs, and a little bit of inconsistency week to week with some of these teams. So
yeah,
it's going to be a good game, man. I'll be watching. You'll be watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for hanging out with us, man. Shout out 12th man.
Peace.